Hello YouTube, it's me Vdeogamer, and this is the how to draw video game characters tutorial, and today I'm going to be drawing Link from The Legend of Zelda. Of course, it's by Nintendo. For this tutorial, you're going to need sketchbook paper or copy paper, a pencil with an eraser. For detail, I like to use a mechanical pencil, and permanent markers to outline your lines, and colored pencils if you want to color it. So, let's get started. First off, I drew a light sketch for the basic pose of Link's body. And then from there, I went on to drawing the basic shapes for the facial details, such as his eyes, which are kind of like triangles, his nose coming somewhere in between those. His eyebrows are triangles right on top of his eyes, very thin ones. And then his face just comes right around that. Below his nose, you got his mouth, and I decided to make him sort of gritting his teeth a bit. Make it look like he's angry. And his hairline just sort of starts out as a line across the top of his head and comes around and off to the sides, like such. And for now, you don't have to get super detailed with the hair yet, because we're going to work on it a lot later. Just get the general outline of the hair down first. Even if it looks a little bit messy right now, you can come back later and clean it up, and it'll look better. Draw in his ear a bit. His neck comes right from the side of his head and right down to his body. His face is a little detailed to where his chin sort of juts out a bit. And behind his head, I have his hat flowing behind him, like such. Once again, while you're starting out, do light sketch lines, so that way if you make a mistake, you can easily erase it. Moving on down, we're going to start on the clothing of Link. Underneath it all, I think he has a shirt on. It just sort of buttons up. And then above that, he has his signature green tunic. Just sketch that in around his arms a bit, coming off onto the sleeves. Then from there, we're going to start working more on the rest of the body. His arms are coming down in front of his body as if he's holding a sword. And so you can just draw that in real easy. And once again, don't get too detailed, because we want to leave a lot of room for detail later. Just get in the general shapes. And he's holding his sword right in front of him. If you don't know what that looks like, you could probably take a picture of it as yourself holding a sword in such a way. And coming right off from his waist is his tunic. The remainder of his tunic. And then right below that, I decided to have his legs in a stance against the ground, so he would be able to better hold his ground. Possibly put more force on his sword. Come back to the sword and define it a bit more with a light sketch line around it. And the Master Sword has a few more details, but we're not going to get super detailed just yet. Once you think you got the sword pretty much down, you can start adding in the lines across the blade of it, like such. And then start working on the pre-outline for the entire character. On Link's arm, he has a little guard against his arm, I guess. That has a lot of detail on it. Pretty much what it is like a glove going across his entire arm. And then on top of that is another shape. Just quickly add in his fingers there. Add on the guard that goes across his glove. Come back on down to his tunic. It's really a combination of a bunch of different clothes. Of course, on top he has the green part of it, but below that he has some gray peachish area to it. I guess it's his under tunic. Or his undershirt. Yeah, his undergarments. Sort of add in some crease lines as the tunic folds across his legs. And then coming on down to the legs, we're going to give a bit of detail to the cloth around the knees and outline where we want the boots to be. Now we're going to finish up the details on the face. I had a few things wrong on the face that didn't really make him look like Link. That's one of the most important things about drawing a video game character is getting the facial details right of the character. And it might take a while, but once you get it down, you'll notice, and it'll definitely look a lot more like the character you're attempting to draw. Add in some pupils and glare to his eyes. And coming back up to the hairline, I want to define that a lot more. So just mark that off with a line going across his head, and then continue on drawing the hair. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to define nearly every individual spike of Link's hair. This just really adds a lot more detail to the hair, and it makes it look more like the character itself. Move the ear a bit, and then inside the ear is just like another triangle shaped like the ear itself. And this is like the inner ear, of course. And continue working on the details of Link's face and hair and his hat, and you'll really start getting a similarity to the character of Link. Of course, mine's probably not perfect, but I'm still working on it. Then back there, just outline his hat a bit and give it some wrinkles. Then come back on down to the clothing and just start outlining that more and giving it a little bit more definition against the clothing and stuff. And Link has a belt going right across his chest area. And I guess this is to hold his backpack or something, if he has one. And add in the belt buckle right in the center. Just sort of curve it off a bit. Then from there, he's got another strap going across from the edge of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some clothing detail, which is just a few stitch marks on the sleeves and beneath the arms. And these are to suit up his tunic, I guess, to take it off and stuff. Around the collar, he's got a little bit of stitch marks for detail. Add some cloth wrinkles across the chest. Now we're going to finish up the guard on his arm. The way we're going to do that, we're just going to finalize the outline. And then just along it, we're going to give it a nice looking border just by going around it again. And finish up the outline of the gloves on his hands. And just the basic shape of his fingers. Do a little bit of work on the guard of the sword. Coming back to the guard on his arm, just start curving in some of the details like such. It's kind of hard to explain what kind of shape they are, but they're just nice flowing curves across his guard. And if you add those in, it just brings a lot more detail to the character and makes him look more realistic. Now, across the legs, you can see that his pants have a little bit of a line going across them. this is kind of what pants look like, is they have lines that separate the seams. This once again adds a little bit more dimension to his legs and shows you what they actually look like in space. Coming back up to the sword, just finalize all your lines on it. Try and get it to look as best as you can. The straighter your lines are on the sword, the more better it's going to look. That doesn't really work, does it? And on the boots, there's not much more you have to do to them. Just finish up the outline for the boots by just marking them out with your pencil. And you have a little bit of stretch marks on the boots themselves, but not too much. Not as much as the clothing. Then add the sole of his boots. Just sort of give an impression to the boots, like they've been worn down a bit on the front. And I gave a few streak lines to make it look like he's springing his foot up and applying pressure down. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your fine point Sharpie and you're going to outline the entirety of your drawing of Link. What this does is this gives us a very nice looking character, while also allowing for us to erase all our previous sketch lines. Start coloring him. First you're going to put some blue for the eyes, and then for all the other colors what you're going to do is you're going to take a light shade of whatever color it may be, the yellow for the hair, the purple for the Master Sword, whatever color it is, and just color lightly across that surface, and that'll allow for some nice shading. Got a little bit of a peachish color on the clothing beneath his tunic, which I thought was kind of weird looking. And of course his signature green hero's tunic. Yeah. Same tunic that Hero of Time has been wearing forever. Apparently. His gloves are a slightly different color than the actual tunic. It's like a bluish green more than anything. And then the gloves going around his hands only are just a simple brown. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a slightly darker color for the skin. We're just going to color around the edges a bit to make it seem darker in some places. And the boots are brown, of course. But same applies for as everything. Just color it lightly at first, and just so you can leave a lot of room for shading. The Master Sword has a lot of different variations of purple on it, but other than that, it should be pretty simple to get the colors on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a color that's darker than the color used for the shades, say like for the peach color on the legs. Take a sort of brownish color and just color off to the left side of the drawing, and that represents all the shadows on Link's body. And this just really adds another sense of depth to your artwork and just makes it look that much more realistic. And I always thought it was a nice effect because it made the characters pop out of the page. And you can use this technique for just about any drawing, and we're going to use this same color scheme on the rest of the drawing as well, just by taking a shade darker than the color we used previously and coloring. The shading on Link's body, however, is a lot more diffuse than the straight solid shading on Toon Link's body, because Toon Link was more of a cartoon character. We want to make it seem more realistic for Link, so what we're going to do is whenever we shade, we're going to shade in such a way that we get lighter as we go to the lighter portion and darker as we go to the darker portion, and that's different from just straight solid shading. Take a dark green for all the greens. And along the cloth wrinkles, what you can do to make those stand out more is just color darkly around those lines that represent the cloth wrinkles, and that'll just, once again, add a lot of dimension to your clothing and just make it seem more realistic. Add a little bit of yellow to the buckle, of course, on the belt. And on the hair, I chose to take a sort of yellowish brown just on the shaded areas of the hair, and that helps a lot. The guard doesn't really require so much shading as the rest of the character, but just for a little bit more detail, you could just fill that in with the reddish brown that we used in the first place. Give a little bit of shading to the under area of the gloves. And continue on with the shading for the entirety of Link's body. And once you finish that, I'll show you what to do after that. Add just a little bit of yellow to the edges of the boots. And to wrap it up, I think we're going to just color in the shading for the Master Sword. And there you have it, a full-fledged drawing of Link. Hope you liked that drawing. And if you want to see how to draw Toon Link, as you can see in the drawing, he's already there. Just click on the top link, and then if you want to see how to finish your drawing between those two by adding some sword clashes and a little bit of a background, click the bottom link to finish the drawing.